What would your life look like if fear disappeared tomorrow? Imagine waking up without the weight in your chest, without the anxious voice whispering, "What if you fail?" What if, just once, you made your move, not with hesitation, but with unshakable certainty? The truth is, most people will live and die trapped by fears they never had the courage to name. But you're not most people. You're here for something more. You're ready to conquer what has been silently holding you back. And that journey begins now. Napoleon Hill, the mind behind Think and Grow Rich, once said, "Fears are nothing more than a state of mind." That sentence alone can change everything, because it flips the script. It tells you that fear is not a wall made of steel. It's a shadow. And shadows disappear when you shine light on them. Fear isn't real in the way you've been taught to believe. It's not a fixed part of you. It's a choice, a mental habit, a script you've been repeating in your mind. And just like any habit, it can be broken, rewritten, replaced. But here's the catch. Fear feels real. It crawls into your thoughts late at night. It sabotages your confidence in the heat of opportunity. It whispers during the day and screams during your dreams. It tells you to wait, to play small, to stay safe. And because you've listened to it for so long, it has convinced you it's the truth. But today, that ends. Napoleon Hill didn't just study success, he dissected it. He spent 25 years interviewing the most powerful, wealthy, and influential people in the world. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. These were not men who lived without fear. They were men who conquered it. Over and over again, Hill discovered that the truly successful had one defining trait in common. They had mastered their minds. They did not let fear sit in the driver's seat. And neither should you. So, how do you conquer fear? Not by avoiding it, not by denying it, but by understanding it, exposing it, dismantling it piece by piece until all that's left is raw courage. Hill taught that there are 6 basic fears that imprison the majority of humanity: the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. But here's the secret. Every one of these fears is born in the mind and dies in the mind. They cannot survive when you decide to confront them with clarity and purpose. Start with this truth. Fear cannot live in a mind that is focused. Hill believed that definiteness of purpose, the clear, burning desire for something greater, was the antidote to fear. When you know what you want and you're willing to fight for it, fear begins to shrink. Because desire, true, white-hot desire, makes fear irrelevant. The person who knows where they're going doesn't stop for shadows on the path. Think about the last time fear stopped you. Maybe it was a business idea, a conversation you avoided, a decision you postponed. Fear made you freeze. But what if you had made your purpose bigger than your panic? What if you had said to yourself, "I will do this, no matter what"? That is the mindset of someone who conquers. That is the mindset Hill was teaching. He also revealed that autosuggestion, feeding your mind the right instructions, was essential. You must train your mind to reject fear the same way a healthy body rejects poison. Every single day, you must affirm your strength, your purpose, your ability. I am strong. I am fearless. I am in control. These aren't empty words. They are weapons, tools, and when used repeatedly, they build mental armor. You're not a victim of your thoughts. You are the master of them. Hill didn't speak of fear like something mystical or vague. He broke it down to its roots. For instance, fear of poverty doesn't come from your bank account. It comes from the belief that you are powerless to change your situation. Fear of criticism doesn't come from others. It comes from your obsession with their approval. Every fear is tied to a lie. And the moment you see that lie, it begins to lose its grip. You must also understand that fear thrives in indecision. When you delay, you feed fear. When you hesitate, you nurture doubt. But when you act decisively, boldly, you starve fear. Hill wrote that decision is the beginning of mastery, and faith, true belief in yourself and your vision, is the engine that drives that decision. The people who change the world are not those without fear, but those who act despite it. They make decisions quickly and change them slowly. They trust their intuition. They believe that life responds to boldness, and it does. The great enemy of fear is faith. Not blind faith, but self-confidence. The belief that you have the power to shape your reality, that your mind is not your master, it is your servant. You don't need to wait for the right moment. You create the right moment by deciding it's now. Hill emphasized that fear disappears the moment faith takes the wheel. Not hope, not luck, but belief backed by action. You may have grown up in a home where fear was normal. You may have been taught that security is more important than purpose. But you're not bound by the past. You are not your upbringing. You are not your mistakes. You are what you choose to believe today, right now. And if you choose courage, if you choose clarity, if you choose discipline, you can become unstoppable. There is no room for fear in the mind that is focused on growth. Hill warned that fear will always come dressed in disguise. It may look like logic, safety, caution, but underneath is the same paralyzing force trying to hold you back. You must become a hunter of your own thoughts, ruthless with negativity, relentless in your pursuit of mental freedom. That's what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Look at your life right now. Where is fear hiding? What has it cost you? A job you didn't apply for? A risk you didn't take? A life you didn't build? It's time to change that. You don't need more time. You don't need more resources. You need more certainty. And certainty comes from conditioning your mind daily, through repetition, through visualization, through the constant reminder that you are bigger than any fear. You will not conquer fear by waiting. You conquer it by walking through it. Speak the words Hill taught. Visualize the life beyond the fear. Feel the emotion of victory before it happens. Build faith like a muscle through daily effort. Surround yourself with voices that remind you of your power. Write your goals. Speak your affirmations. Eliminate the poison of doubt. This is not a one-time event. It is a lifestyle. Understand this. The world will not hand you your dreams. It will test you, challenge you, laugh at you. But when you stare fear in the face and move anyway, something changes. You begin to respect yourself. You begin to trust your own voice. You realize that freedom is not found in safety. It's found in strength. So today, ask yourself one question. What would I do if I were not afraid? Then do that. Start there. Take one step. Make one call. Say one truth. And tomorrow, take another. Because fear is not the enemy. Fear is the compass. It points directly to the areas that hold your greatest potential, and your greatest power is on the other side. You were not born to live in chains. You were not born to shrink. You were born to rise, to build, to conquer. Fear may knock, but you don't have to answer. You were given a mind, a vision, a will. Use them. Build faith like fire. Speak with conviction. Act with power. And the world will respond. Because once you understand what Hill taught, that fear is only a state of mind, you unlock a truth most never discover. You were never afraid. You were just untrained. Now you know. Now you move. Now you conquer. The mind, once awakened to its power, cannot go back to sleep. That's the truth behind every person who ever transformed their life. They didn't need a miracle. They didn't wait for permission. They simply decided to think differently. That is the real beginning of conquering fear. changing the way you think. And no one taught this better than Napoleon Hill. He believed that thought is the most powerful force in existence. Not muscle, not money, not connections. Thought. The right thought, charged with faith and emotion, becomes a command. It reshapes your reality. And fear only survives in the absence of this conscious thought. When your mind is filled with purpose, belief, and action, fear has no space left to live. Most people are ruled by unconscious patterns. They react instead of respond. They doubt instead of believe. They postpone instead of act. And every time they do, they hand power over to fear. They let it tighten its grip. But you're not here to live like that. You're here to break the cycle, to become the master of your mental world, to train your mind the way an athlete trains their body every single day. Let's be clear, fear will return. It always does. But you won't fear the fear anymore, because now you know how to face it. You know it has no power unless you give it power. You know it's just a signal, an opportunity to rise, not retreat. Hill taught that we must not run from fear, but through it. That each fear faced is a step toward personal power. That every act of courage, no matter how small, compounds into self-respect and confidence. You must begin every day by choosing your mindset. Fear begins in the morning if you don't stop it. If you wake up and let your thoughts wander into doubt, into comparison, into regret, fear will take root before you even leave your bed. But if you begin with intention, with gratitude, with your definite purpose, with belief, you choke fear before it breathes. Affirmation is your first weapon. Speak the truth you want to live. I am powerful. I am fearless. I create my destiny. I act with purpose. I do not hesitate. These are not empty words. They are anchors. Because when the day tests you, and it will, you will have already planted your roots deep in belief. Visualization is your second weapon. See the life you desire. Picture yourself already there. Walk through that vision in your mind. Hear the applause. Feel the success. Breathe in the freedom. The brain doesn't distinguish between imagined reality and actual experience. So when you visualize deeply, you begin to wire your nervous system for power, not panic. And your third weapon is action. Because belief without movement is fantasy. The moment you act, you tell fear that it does not control you. The first step may shake, your voice may tremble, but action itself builds momentum. And once you begin, the fear loses its illusion. What you feared shrinks. What you feared becomes laughable. And you become someone new, not because the world changed, but because you did. Napoleon Hill spoke of the 6 ghosts of fear for a reason. He wanted us to know their names so we could catch them when they visit. Fear of poverty? It disguises itself as overcaution, as hesitation, as the habit of thinking small. Fear of criticism? It wears the mask of silence, of social anxiety, of perfectionism. Fear of ill health? It shows up as obsession with symptoms, as worry over every ache. Fear of loss of love? It manifests as jealousy, insecurity, neediness. Fear of old age? It whispers that your time is running out, that it's too late. And fear of death? It lingers in quiet moments, draining the joy from your life. But when you look these fears in the eye, when you name them, they lose their ability to sneak up on you. You rob them of their invisibility. And that is the first stage of liberation. No enemy can defeat you once you've studied its tactics. You're not naive anymore. You're awake, aware. And because of that, you're dangerous to fear, to doubt, to the old version of yourself. You must now become obsessed with growth. That doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. It means you no longer allow fear to write your story. It means you choose faith even when fear screams. Because you know something deeper. You know that life will meet you at your level of belief. That success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. Hill wrote that success comes to those who become success conscious. Think about that. Your external world is always a mirror of your internal world. If you expect failure, fear creates it. If you expect greatness, fear flees. Not because you're ignoring reality, but because you're shaping it with every thought, every choice, every moment of courage. Don't underestimate what one bold action can do. One phone call, one pitch, one truth told, one confrontation faced, one leap taken. That's how fear is destroyed. Not by giant miracles, but by daily bravery. Small acts done consistently compound into unstoppable momentum. And when others look at you and ask how you did it, you'll smile, because you'll know it wasn't luck. It was choice. It was mindset. It was faith. There will be days you feel the fear rising again. That's natural. But you're different now. You won't shrink. You'll remember that fear is just a reminder. You're stepping into something that matters. It's a sign you're expanding. And you'll say, "Good, let it come. I'm ready." Because deep down, you know the truth. Fear isn't here to stop you. It's here to test if you're serious. To test if you're willing to claim the life you say you want. To test your conviction. And if you pass that test, if you keep moving anyway, fear will step aside. Because fear respects action. There's nothing wrong with feeling afraid. But everything changes when you decide that fear will no longer decide for you. Not in business, not in relationships, not in your dreams. You make the decisions now. You take control. And when that happens, fear doesn't just shrink. It starts to work for you. It becomes fuel, a signal, a guide. Remember this: fear is not a wall. It is a doorway. And on the other side is the life you were born to live.